The Empyreans' ground force is led by Astrius, Aeon of the First Order. He has a demon named Nova, a sentinel named Pulse. He's also being supported by a Fulcrum, an Oculus, the enigmatic robot known as Axel, a pair of factotums, and a Saber Strike Force. Warcaster Aeon Phelan is an overall command of the mission from her ship. Her starting rack includes Annihilation Vector, Encrypted Command, Force Barrier, Reiteration Complex, and Revelation Matrix. Marcher Worlds' ground force is led by Lieutenant Kyric Davenport. He has a pair of Dusk Wolves named Spike and Razor. He also has a subordinate hunter, Sergeant Alan Reynolds, the former Empyrean Aeon known as Corobus, a combat engineer, Sergeant J. Maida, a Coalition Weaver, Lars Bass, a Ranger Fire Team, and a squad of Ranger Infiltrators supported by a warder. Warcaster Captain Elena Scott is an overall commander of the mission from her ship. Her starting rack includes Aggression Theorem, Force Barrier, Interdiction Protocol, Null Collider, and Plexus Densifier. Empyreans won the starting role to go first. We played skirmish mission Chaos Theory, with the 3 objectives in the center being communication towers. The Marcher Worlds needs these to call in scouting reports to their reinforcements, and the 2 objectives closer to each faction's table edge representing power cells for the towers. For terrain layout, we placed buildings on either side of the comm towers, and filled the gaps randomly with nature-based terrain. The Empyreans were deployed spread across their table edge. A demon and factotum were on the far left. Astrius was in the center, and a Fulcrum was to the right. The Marcher Worlds were deployed bunched towards the left. A Ranger Fire Team and Weaver were to the far left. A Hunter and Corvus were offset left of center. Habitable planets in this area of the Marches can be hard to come by. Those with both welcome atmospheres and an abundance of Ark to be mined are far fewer in number, making them all the more important to secure and protect when an Empyrean warship darkens the sky above. Pulse Round 1. Empyreans. Turn 1. Astrius, secure the power cell nearby and shut it down. This particular set of humans can be quite bothersome. They embrace stealth and underhanded tactics that I am well aware and already have plans to nullify it. Arc transfers and optical enhancements incoming. With that, the Empyrean Warcaster energized the Fulcrum and extended the range of Astrius' visual sensors. Sending Arc coursing through her fellow Aeon in the process. The Fulcrum made its way towards the eastern comm tower, while Astrius began his work shutting down the nearby power cell. A factotum opened a portable gate ahead of Astrius' position. Marcher Worlds. Turn 1. After sending a charge of arc into her ground commander, Captain Scott covered the fire team with a protective energy field. Lieutenant Davenport made his way towards the central comm tower. Sighting Astrius in the distance, the hunter squeezed the trigger and watched as a round pierced through the Aeon's left shoulder. Afterwards, he moved to take cover behind a pile of rubble, and Davenport signaled to Corvus to get the comm towers powered up. The former Empyrean Aeon connected a cable to the power cell's main terminal and began to work. Captain Scott sent another jolt of power coursing through Davenport's system, invigorating the sniper, who once more raised his rifle with Astrius in his sights. This time, however, the round harmlessly bounced off the Aeon's defense matrix. Davenport tossed a void gate into the clearing between two of the comm towers and cursed the misfortune of his last shot. Empyreans. Turn 2. Phelan energized Nova. And sent the Warjack soaring over a nearby building to cut off the advancing coalition forces. A factotum made its way towards Astrius. While the Empyrean Warcaster sent reinforcements planet-side. The Fulcrum deployed another gate as Astrius' vanguard prepared for the coming storm. Marcher Worlds. Turn 2.
Got a jack closing in, just northwest of my position.
Roger, LT. We're on it. Feeling the power flowing into their arc receivers, Corporal Wagner's fire team made their way into the clearing between the forests. Despite facing a hail of gunfire, Paul suffered relatively little damage. Moving stealthily, the Rangers encircled the westernmost comm tower, Wagner quickly beginning to establish a connection while his team lay down covering fire. Lars positioned himself safely between the forests and brought hell to both Empyrean warjacks. Captain Scott sent a pair of her own warjacks to support Davenport. As Private Olson opened another gate. Empyreans. Turn 3. Axel's mechanical frame jolted awkwardly as arc coursed through him. The hulking sentinel closed in on the fire team and brought its heavy plasma blade down on the Wagner. Relentlessly closing in on the rest of the squad afterwards. The Warjack Starfire array devastated home, but Olsen's luck held out. The Empyrean Jack tried twice more to cut down the gutsy private, but each time Olsen dodged the blast raining down around him. The robotic mercenary moved around the corner and his rifle barked as a burst of energy was unleashed towards the Coalition sniper. Davenport's life was saved as Corbus threw himself in the way, taking the brunt of the shot into his raised forearm, damaged but only slightly. In an instant, any of the lieutenant's doubts about Corbus's loyalty faded. Axel then ducked behind a nearby building. The Fulcrum's Void Gate came to life, and Oculus and a squad of Sabres stepped through to confront the Dusk Wolves. Astrius opened another gate just in front of the chemical waste station. Marcher Worlds. Turn 3. Spike's arc receiver crackled, and the Warjack's eyes glowed a deep blue as he made his way towards the central comm tower. The Sabres were obliterated when the Dusk Wolf's wildflower erupted death all around them. The Oculus was spared in the explosions, but fell shortly afterwards, awash in flames when Spike bathed it in fire. Sergeant Reynolds and a squad of infiltrators stepped through the void, flanking Nova. Corbus opened another gate near the command center. Pulse Round 2. Empyreans. Turn 1. Phelan energized Pulse and sent a Fulcrum to deal with the Dusk Wolf that was terrorizing her cohorts. The Servitor's Void Cannon didn't do much damage, but it did at least temporarily remove the threat, stranding Spike atop a small building. pulse moved toward the forest and unleashed a tsunami of destruction onto the Coalition troops nearby. Corbus sacrificed his own safety to protect the Marcher Worlds lieutenant once more. Phelan drove the Sentinel to attack Davenport again, but Corbus deflected the blow, saving the lieutenant a third time. Squiddy McGee and another Strike Force squad stepped through the void before Astrius opened another gate behind his warjacks. Marcher Worlds. Turn 1. Razor stood a bit taller as his circuitry was flooded with arc. Lieutenant Davenport crept back into the woodline and fired a round into the Sentinel, but Pulse's defense matrix protected him. The hunter slipped out of the forest to take up a safe position behind Corbus. Razor stormed into Pulse, cutting down the larger warjack in a blur of violent aggression. Razor then sent a barrage railing into Astrius, just piercing his defense matrix.
Razor, take out that void gate. We need to stop them from bringing in more reinforcements before we can secure the comm towers.
Roger, Lieutenant. The Duskwolf unloaded rounds into the Empyrean gate, but wasn't able to destroy it. Captain Scott strengthened the resolve of Janik and her infiltrators, before sending Sergeant Maida and a second Ranger fire team to support them. Sergeant Reynolds opened another gate behind the Empyrean line. Empyreans. Turn 2. An energy field enveloped the Sabres. Axel fired a burst into the Marchers flanking the Empyrean line as he retreated to a safer position. As the hunter's body was disintegrated, Janik was caught in the temporal disruption, but her armor withstood the blast. The Merc then moved behind a void gate. Hailing a nearby factotum, Astrius instructed it to repair the damage to his host body. Recognizing the importance of keeping Axel in the fight, Phelan energized the robot again. And sent an Oculus to support her warjacks. The Fulcrum deployed another gate by the command center. Marcher Worlds. Turn 2.
Corvus, I got this node. Take out that fulcrum. Cap, can you?
Before he could finish the request, the Warcaster empowered the former Aeon. Sending him toward the central comm tower where he blasted the Fulcrum, slamming the automaton into the eastern tower. Sergeant Maida rushed to Corvus's aid, working to repair as much of the damage as he could on site. Captain Scott instructed Razor to shift to a more defensive focus, protecting the soldiers nearest to him. Next, she sent another sniper and Weaver to the battlefield. And Private Gill opened the gate by the tree line. Empyreans. Turn 3. Phelan pulled Ark back to her rack and sent a wave of force crashing into Corvus, slamming him into the command center. After getting a clear shot into Sergeant Maida, Axel shattered the combat engineer's body in a horrific scene. He then moved behind a large boulder. The strike force swarmed Corvus, blocking his path to the central comm tower. All three lashed out at him, but he deflected each attack in turn. Wanting to stave off the second Dusk Wolf, the Empyrean Warcaster channeled a disruptive command into his circuitry. Phelan sent another sentinel through the Fulcrum's gate, looking to support the Saber squaring off with Corvus. One of the Sabers deployed a gate near the rear of the command center. Marcher Worlds. Turn 3. Varn raised his battle staff, and Captain Scott destabilized the area around the Factotum and Astrius. Making his way towards the northern power cell, Sergeant Reynolds sent a round piercing through one of the Saber's metallic skulls. The fire team moved to secure the eastern comm tower and rained a hailstorm of gunfire into the strike force, but their force barrier held up against the attack. The flames Captain Scott sent towards the factotum crashed harmlessly into a boulder nearby. Another combat engineer deployed in the face of the Oculus. Pulse Round 3. Empyreans. Turn 1. Valen charged the Sentinel and unleashed a damning curse on the Corvus. Heldian closed in on the fire team and cut them down one by one, before moving to interfere with the eastern tower. Infuriated by the Marchers closing in, Astrius lashed out, killing both a sniper and Weaver. Another fulcrum manifested to threaten Lieutenant Davenport's position. Marcher Worlds. Turn 1. Captain Scott infused Corvus's system with Arc once more, and recalibrated Spike's close combat coordination control mechanism. The Duskwolf leapt down from atop the chemical waste station, landing with a thunderous impact in front of the cursed Aeon. The Warjack swung its impaler at the Empyreans nearby, twice in rapid succession, but only managed to slightly damage Astrius and land a glancing blow on the factotum. Spike's wildflower erupted, dropping mines all around, but his enemies braced and withstood the blasts. Lastly, he sprayed flames into Astrius, who just ducked below the stream, though the factotum behind him was caught in the blaze. Corvus sought revenge on the strike force, smashing the sabers with his fists. Next, he sent a telekinetic force wave slamming into the fulcrum. The Coalition Warcaster energized the infiltrators, sending them around the demon to support Spike and Razor. In an effort to surround the main Empyrean line, another Weaver entered the fight. And one of the infiltrators deployed another gate behind the Oculus. Empyreans. Turn 2. The Empyrean Warcaster charged her fulcrum. And amplified Axel's weaponry. Sneaking behind the chemical waste station, the mercenary squeezed the trigger and watched as Corvus's physical form was disintegrated. He then moved closer to the eastern comm tower, finding safety in the shadow of the massive warjack. Taking full advantage of its arc charge, the fulcrum opened up its void cannon in the face of the Ranger Lieutenant. Phelan sent another strike force to the planet. While the factotum opened a gate. Marcher Worlds. Turn 2. After boosting her Duskwolf's arc a second time, Captain Scott drove Spike to strike out at Astrius again. Finally eliminating the exalted Empyrean warrior. She then sent Razor in to cleave through the Saber squad. and to eliminate the fulcrum. Activating his slip displacer, the Duskwolf moved to protect the southern power cell. The Weaver worked methodically to destroy the factotum. Driven by the Coalition Warcaster to deliver the final blow. Captain Scott then sent a pair of snipers to the battlefield. Empyreans. Turn 3. After getting a charge of Arcanescence, Nova attempted to wipe out the infiltrators and combat engineer. The factotum attacked Spike in vain, unable to pierce the Warjack's armor. Another Saber Strike Force deployed in the center, in hopes of blocking the Marcher World force from interfering with Hellion. Marcher Worlds. Turn 3. Captain Scott charged both hunters and instructed them to do whatever was needed to secure the northern power cell. Both snipers fired rounds into the factotum, with the second using his arc booster to finally take out the servitor and move in to activate the cell.